Congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs on winning the Super Bowl. Did Kyle Shanahan blow the Niners the game? Is Brock Purdy elite? Is Patrick Mahomes on Tom Brady's level? We will get to all of those questions, so let's roll it. Let's do it. Dylan, in the beginning of that game, the San Francisco 49ers, their defense was flying around. I mean, they were getting pressure. I mean, Mahomes couldn't do anything really in that first half, till the last drive of the half.
The real game changer here was Greenlaw getting hurt. Honestly, he was flying around the whole game. You know, he was making plays, and that defense was really humming in the first half. But after he went out, it was kind of different without him.
It was, yeah. I mean, it was definitely different, 100%. I mean, what did he get hurt, like jogging onto the field? That was very weird.
Yeah, jogging onto the field. Yeah.
That was a weird injury, not gonna lie. And Debo got hurt in this game. He came back, but the Niners are a little older, so you kind of saw it with some of these players getting injured. The Chiefs are young, they're fresh. And how about Trent McDuffie, that corner? How about those Chiefs corners? They basically locked down those Niners receivers for most of the game. And McCaffrey, also another one, averaged only 3.6 yards per carry this game. Kyle Shanahan kind of got away from him a little bit in the third quarter there, but can you really blame him? Because he was effective in the passing game, but in the running game, he kind of was hit or miss, McCaffrey, in this game. But, there's so many levels of this game, because there was the first half where both teams kind of struggled on offense. There was the third quarter where the Niners kind of couldn't put the Chiefs away, and the Chiefs slowly came back. And then there was the fourth quarter that was just kind of back and forth, and same with overtime. So there's kind of many layers to this game.
So what I saw out there, what it really came down to was Kyle Shanahan not trusting Brock Purdy. You saw a lot of their plays was, they were a running team, but they were running too much. Like on third down, they would run it on. Like they were just, there was no surprise. You kind of knew what they were going to do. And it seems like they just didn't trust Brock Purdy out there.
I don't know, because I do feel like they ran the ball enough, I guess, but there were times where they should have run the ball and they didn't. But what I really feel like, I guess we'll get into Kyle Shanahan first in this game. What I really criticize Kyle Shanahan for the most is not being able to adjust his play calling, because Brock Purdy, he could throw from the pocket, okay? Is he a little smaller? Does he get deflected a lot? Yes. But he overall can make throws from the pocket. But Kyle Shanahan's biggest flaw is that Brock Purdy is at his best when he's rolling out. He made one throw in overtime. I was like, wow. Where he kind of like juked out the defender, kind of did a little step back. And he makes plays out of the pocket like that all the time, where his wow moments are usually when he's rolling around and all that. And can you remember a time where Kyle Shanahan designed a play where Brock Purdy rolled out? Usually it's when he's in crisis and he rolls out.
He makes the play.
I never seen a design play from Kyle Shanahan where Brock Purdy actually rolls out. Now, Kyle Shanahan is usually true to his play calling, true to his scheme, true to his playbook. He started to tweak it a little bit with Trey Lance, but clearly he didn't like it. He likes his play calling, and Brock Purdy's good at this system, don't get me wrong. But at some point, you have to sprinkle in some mobility. This quarterback is mobile. You have to play to his strengths. At some point, you need to sprinkle in some movement, throw the Chiefs off guard a little bit, and Kyle Shanahan refused to do that. So I think that was his biggest flaw in this game. Now, people are criticizing when overtime happened, and he won the toss, and he decided to take the ball. I don't necessarily disagree with that. I kind of think that it was a decent decision because Mahomes was on fire, and you want to take the momentum back. You go out and you score a touchdown in the first drive, that puts the Chiefs on their heels. I don't care about what he was talking about. Oh, I want to go get a touchdown in the third drive. If he had got a touchdown in the first drive, it puts Mahomes, Kelsey, Reed in a ton of pressure. And, there was one more thing where I kind of guess I could criticize him a little bit. On that last drive in overtime that they had, he kind of should have thought about going for it on that fourth down, because you're inside the 10, and even if you don't get it, they're backed up. They're going to have to go 90-plus yards. They're going to have to go like 40, 50 yards to even get a field goal. So I think they should have considered that more. I think he was too quick to try on the field goal unit there. But other than that, a lot of calls I liked in this game. It's tough, man. This is tough because he's won 8 playoff games, and I don't even think he's 45 yet. 8 playoff wins, but everyone knows him as the guy that chokes in the big moment. It's kind of unfortunate because I think he's a great coach.
I think he's a great coach too, and I don't think it's really all on him here. Yeah, there were some things that you don't fully agree with, like this new rule how both teams get possession of the ball. I think in that case, yeah, you wanna give it to them so your defense can make a stop, and at that point, all you got to do is hit a field goal, and that's it. So it could really go either way. I get what you're saying though, just saying slow down Mahomes, take away his momentum, but it really could have gone either way. It just depends on how you feel, how your team's gonna react, how they play it out. But going back to Brock Purdy, you got to give it to him. This is his first year playing for the full season. Mahomes' first year, they only made it to the AFC Championships. So, listen, I nothing on Brock Purdy here. I think they're going to learn from this, and I think they're going to make it back here next year.
Well, you say like only the AFC Championship. I mean, that's pretty impressive in itself.
Yeah, and he lost to Tom Brady.
Look,
so.
Look, I mean, couple takeaways. Before we move on to Brock Purdy, I just want to bring up one more thing about Kyle Shanahan. Another thing that I could probably vastly criticize him on is, I do think he knew the overtime rules. He's a smart head coach. He definitely knew them. But the fact that his players didn't know it, you got to have your guys prepared.
Well, what do you mean by that?
Some of his players didn't know that the overtime rules changed. They thought Kyle Juszczyk went on there.
One touchdown and it's over?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yep, there were some players that did. And also McCole Hardman didn't realize that he won the game too. But that was on the Chiefs side. But yeah, no. Wow. Kyle Shanahan, you got to have your players ready. The Chiefs players talked about how they've been practicing this since the playoffs started. They knew. It was kind of like Belichick was the same way. Their players always knew every situation, every scenario possible.
Because you go over it.
You got to be thorough. You have to be thorough. You cannot miss details in this league. And Kyle Shanahan missed a detail with his team. So that I definitely have to criticize him on. But okay.
Yeah, I get that. At heart, I really thought, I kind of knew that the Chiefs were going to win this game because even going back before the Super Bowl, there was a scenario where they were practicing. You know how each team gets a practice field?
Yeah.
So we were hearing sources from the team saying they were complaining about the field, they were complaining about this, they were complaining about that. It's just you kind of just see like the way that things are going.
The writing on the wall, kind of in a way. So like almost like in a way, it's like, oh, we have an excuse now, but they're not going to use that. The Niners are pros. But now on the Brock Purdy, because you started to bring him up. For most of this game, I thought he was pretty average. If you looked at a lot of those first really 3 quarters, look at a lot of his completions. The throws, the guys were wide open. Now, overtime, he made some big throws. He did.
In the rolling big moment.
Rolling out, made some really, really big throws. So my overall analysis on Brock Purdy after this season, I don't think he's a game manager. He's definitely not a game manager. If anything, in fact, I think he has a little bit of a gunslinger in him. He likes to throw the ball down the field. He pushes the issue. He forces the issue down the field. But I also don't think he's a game changer, because if he was a game changer, you would have saw more of what Mahomes did in that game and basically completely take the game away. When they were up 10-3, they had a chance to put that game away many, many times in the third quarter, and they didn't. I do think that's partially because they just had Brock Purdy drop back throw, like this is 1970, and he could roll out. So I do feel like that's partially Shanahan's fault. Got away from McCaffrey a little bit. I mean, he was up and down running, but he was effective in the passing game. You could have hit him on some screens. But Brock Purdy, I think, made the plays he had to win them this game. But I also feel like at the same time that he didn't put the game away when he had to. Like the Niners were 3 for 12 on third down in this game. Yeah. Pretty sure it was 3 for 12. Yeah, 3 for 12. Mm-hmm. And you got to be better on third down. The critical game, moment. Third down is the down that you need to hit on. And I think the Chiefs were 9 for 19, almost 50%. Mm-hmm. So you see the difference right there. Yeah. Mahomes, the game-changing plays in this game were with his legs. Especially, same thing as last Super Bowl. His signature play in last Super Bowl was that big run he had up the middle with his injured leg. And now again, he like 4 huge runs in this game that decided the game. So his second to last run, he almost took it all the way. I'm like, oh my god, he's about to score. So Patrick Mahomes, when he has to, he's not a mobile guy, but he scrambles when he has to and makes the biggest plays of his career with his legs. Yeah,
definitely. I feel like during this game there was a lot of mistakes being made, like a lot of fumbles, a lot of turnovers.
Yeah, by both teams.
Yeah, by both Christian teams. McCaffrey,
Pacheco in the red zone, both of them.
So I feel like anybody could have taken this game. It just came down to who was going to be better, who's the better team, and it really came down to Patrick Mahomes carrying his team.
Yeah, I think that too.
You're completely right. Brock Purdy cannot carry his team. He needs that system to work. He needs everyone to do what they have to do. He needs open receivers. He's not going to make that play. play.
He does make tight throws sometimes when the pocket's not muddy, and the pocket was very muddy in this game. That last throw in overtime, that last play, 3rd and 4 before the field goal, Ayuk was wide open, but Purdy never saw him because he got pressured right up the middle, and he kind of looked right and never looked over the middle for Ayuk. Didn't even have time. He had to just throw it away. Even if he looked over the middle, I don't think he would have had enough time. He got pressured way too easily there. So the Niners the Niners offensive line definitely struggled in this game. I don't think Purdy had a clean enough pocket. But there were also plays with Purdy that showed that he was kind of young and inexperienced, like McDuffie on that sneak blitz right before the end of regulation. Remember, it was a huge 3rd down, second to last drive, and then McDuffie came on that disguised blitz and unblocked because Purdy kind of didn't see him because Purdy's still young, still getting used to this. I do think he can get better though. I don't think this is a ceiling. I think he can improve.
I agree. I completely agree.
And let's not forget, Dylan. You might think he's in the top 10. I think he's more 12, 13. But even in that case, top 13 guy, and he's making $870,000. I mean, that is great value.
Best bang for your buck.
Yes,
sure.
Exactly. Best bang for your buck. And the Niners can now fill the holes on this roster that they need to fill. Defensively, maybe some people in the defensive backfield, maybe get some fresh linemen in there. So they can fill these holes now because their quarterback they're not paying.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, listen, you could win Super Bowls with a top 15 quarterback.
If you have players around him.
It comes down to coaching, it comes down to players, it comes down to defense. If you have all of that clicking, then you could really throw anyone in there and make it work. As long as they're, they have experience, they know what they're doing. Like you put Stafford back there, you put Goff back there, they're going to make it work.
Yeah, so, I mean, Stafford and Goff, it's funny how you put Stafford and Goff when they were traded for each other. Kind of
exactly.
Funny. Ironically funny. But speaking of coaching, man, I don't know if Andy Reid's ever going to retire with Mahomes. He's going to have to eventually because he's getting older. He's pretty old now. But with Andy Mahomes and Patrick Reid. No, I'm kidding.
What, they're going to get married?
Yeah, Andy Mahomes and Patrick Reid. Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. That combination, look, they could definitely catch Brady. I don't know how else to say. Patrick Mahomes is the second best quarterback of all time. I don't put him in Brady. I don't put him ahead of Brady yet because
you can't. He went down swinging to the last breath.
Yeah, and Brady had 2 separate Hall of Fame careers from 20 to 30, and then from 30 to 40. So it's kind of crazy.
And he went on a completely different team and did it again.
Exactly. So it's hard to compare the two right now, especially.
It is. But he's definitely on pace.
With this pace, Dylan.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you? Anyone that says that he's not on pace to become the GOAT is just a hater. He's just a
100%.
hater. He is 3-1 in the Super Bowl. He's 6 years as a starter, made the Super Bowl 4 times. I mean,
you know what people are gonna say? He's like, oh, but they lost in that AFC Championship to Brady. That means nothing.
That was his first year. That was his first year.
I know people are gonna
as a
say
starter.
it, though.
Yeah, but again, it's funny because that was actually a critical to the overtime rule change. Mahomes never got the ball in overtime because Brady went down and scored right away. So that was also part of the reason. And then that Bills Chiefs game, 13 seconds, that whole thing that happened.
That's all playoff games, right?
Yes, only playoff games.
Wild
correct.
Cards, all that stuff.
Because regular season, I think they're trying to just get the clock moving. You don't want players to get hurt. If it has to tie, it has to tie.
So why did they say a completely new game? So you got 4 quarters?
Honestly, I gotta be honest. I didn't know that. That one actually surprised me. I'm actually a little ashamed that I didn't know that because the clock was running out, and then I was like, "What are they doing?"
And then the announcer was like, "Don't you worry."
Technically, there's a halftime. Yeah, there's technically a whole another 4 quarters.
That's pretty crazy.
Weird, right? I don't think I'll ever make it to that point. I mean,
who knows?
Who knows for sure? Especially with both teams getting the ball now.
So what if it came down to the 4th quarter and nobody scores?
It would probably be a sudden death. I don't know. We gotta look at the rule book.
Yeah, we definitely got to break that down.
We do for sure. But I mean, Andy Reid and Mahomes, the sky is definitely the limit. I don't know how much longer Andy Reid actually has because he's getting up there in age. He got Mahomes at a late point in his career, but Andy Reid, the thing, Andy Reid, Kyle Shanahan. Andy Reid is the best coach in the NFL right now. One of the best head coaches of all time. Kyle Shanahan's pretty talented. I think he's a top 5 head coach, maybe even top 3 head coach in this league. Andy Reid on the Philadelphia Eagles, maybe a couple decades ago, struggled to win that Super Bowl. People criticized him. He couldn't win in the big moment. He had play clock issues. Game clock issues where he struggled to make decisions late. And now people forget about that. Maybe Kyle Shanahan, this is his story. This is the beginning of his story, of his origins. This is his origin story right now.
Yeah, just like Bill Belichick, man. That's why I think he can really go further with this. They're not gonna bring him out in the peak of Mahomes.
He's talent,
exactly.
exactly.
They're gonna keep on riding with it.
Exactly, and I don't think. I mean, anyone that I think Kyle Shanahan. I mean, yeah, he deserves criticism in this game because he had situations like going away from McCaffrey in the third quarter. I mean, a lot of people. I left a lot of people.
He was the playmaker. He's your playmaker.
And even if it's not working, you have to be persistent about it. This is what got you here. The guy's the offensive player of the year, and it sets Purdy up with the play action. So the fact that he was ineffective really in that third quarter kind of prevented them from putting the game away.
And the fact that you really didn't even use Kittle at all. Like, he couldn't get to Kittle at all.
I know.
And he had 2 completions the whole game.
He had one huge fourth down that he converted. That was probably the biggest play of the game for Kittle.
But that's your guy. That's your Travis Kelce. That's your star.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing, though. It shows the difference between Kittle and Travis Kelce in big games. Because Travis Kelce...
he stands out.
I think Travis Kelce and Gronk are probably the 2 best tight ends I've seen. Gronkowski.
I couldn't put one over the other. They both have.
If you had to pick, who would you pick? I mean, Kelce.
Gronk, I think.
I would probably pick Gronk too. You know why?
He was just so physical,
and he was an elite blocker. Kelce is not a blocker. It's a little different. Kelce's like a hybrid receiver if you think about it.
Yeah, definitely the top 2 though.
I think we have to talk about that. I almost forgot about that. That situation where Kelce was kind of yelling at Andy Reid. How do you feel about that? Now they both kind of came out and basically claimed the same thing. That Travis Kelce kind of went over like, "Give me the ball. I'm gonna score. I can do this." Kind of basically all pumped up. I don't think he was screaming at Andy Reid. I think he was screaming.
I get that. I honestly think he let all the fame go to his head, and he kind of thought it kind of seemed like he was trying to run the show. Honestly.
Okay. I was actually surprised. I'm surprised you could take in this angle. So,
well, listen, Andy Reid didn't make anything of it. He said he was caught off balance, but I don't know. That was a bit physical. I mean, I don't know if the way that he was walking at him, he had a lot of momentum and he was falling into it. I don't know, but the way it looked, it didn't look good.
So I have to disagree there. First of all, it's football. You saw Mahomes scream at Rasheed Rice in that game. It happens.
That's your head coach,
Brady used to scream at Josh McDaniels, not his head coach, but the two love each other. And Andy Reid loves Travis Kelce. Look,
I guess
this is the kind of these are the kind of situations Mahomes yelling at Rasheed Rice, Travis Kelce kind of yelling at Andy Reid. I don't think he was yelling at Andy Reid, but yelling in Andy Reid's direction. I guess yelling at Andy Reid. The thing is,
the guy fell over.
This is the kind of situation where if you win, it doesn't matter. If you lose, this would have been hugely... imagine the Chiefs lost this game. This would have been way more of headlines than it is now. And it's pretty big headlines.
Yeah,
for sure. 100%. Mahomes yelling at Rasheed Rice. What is this guy doing yelling at his players? Rasheed Rice was open, but it was kind of the thing where, I feel like the linebacker could have undercut it, but he saw Mahomes eyeing down the outside, so he drifted to the outside. Mm-hmm. So I don't necessarily know there. Mahomes does get heated in moments too, but most of these quarterbacks that are dying to win those games are going to get like that. In flag, I get like that. I mean, I probably shouldn't get like that. It doesn't really matter. I mean, but...
Well, you got to keep your composure, but so, sticking on the topic of Travis Kelce, is this his last year? Do you think he went out with a bang and that's it?
I don't think so because he's talking about three-peating.
Oh, okay.
He's talking about three-peating, so it seems like he's coming back. And like Travis Kelce said, Viva Las Vegas! I don't know why I kept saying that, but Taylor Swift was definitely cringing when he was saying that. So
yeah, for sure. Going for a third one.
Well, let's talk about that. So far, because you know how betting is. They're always going to have the odds immediately after. The betting favorites to win the Super Bowl next season, number 1, the 49ers, number 2, the Chiefs. Are the Kansas City Chiefs being disrespected by that?
I feel like the 49ers just have a younger team in a way.
I disagree. They have an older team.
They do.
They have a younger quarterback.
They have a younger system, you know?
Well, they have a younger head coach.
Yeah.
Well, I get you there. But they definitely have a younger team, especially on defense. Yeah. That defense is pretty young. McDuffie's isn't he a rookie? And he was first team All-Pro. Mm-hmm. That guy, you can't say enough about that guy, by the way. I mean, I feel like that guy's going understated. That corner, man, he's the top 5 corner in the league.
Yeah.
And what about, we'll stick on the betting. So how do you feel about that? Are the Chiefs getting disrespected?
Well, listen, I think they have a lot of stuff to work with here. They have a lot of talent all around. They could trade some pieces away, get some other pieces there. So I think they're going to be doing a lot of stuff in the offseason, and I think they're going to come back better.
Well, that's another situation. Chris Jones, do you bring him back? Because there's talks that he's going to walk now because they're not going to pay him because they're talking about maybe drafting someone else. There's a lot of talks about Chris Jones not coming back. Is that going to hurt them?
I think that will. I mean, we saw what this team was without Chris Jones.
Do you think he comes back on a pay cut? I mean, he did hold out that first game this season. Remember that Lions game? He didn't play.
Yeah, he didn't play.
I don't know.
That's a tough situation. I feel like, I don't know.
And what they did with Tyreek Hill, you really think they're going to bring back Chris Jones when they didn't bring back Cheetah? I don't know. It's tough,
That's
man.
tough. I mean,
It's
I don't know.
tough.
I think they have a good chemistry. That's the only thing. You saw at the end of the game how Andy Reid jumped on top of Chris Jones.
Yes. Now, their pass rush was
a
great
great
in that game, too. And Chris Jones had some big moments in that game, hurrying Purdy and basically having Purdy have some off throws as a result. But I think if they didn't have as good as a secondary as they do now, they would be a little hesitant. But that back end, man, the difference that back end has made for this team, that secondary, I feel like it's the unsung hero of this Kansas City Chiefs team. That back end, McDuffie, Snead, Edwards, those three right there alone.
Up.
Yeah, they were locking up. Debo, I remember he tried to run a post. And, like, I know Debo, people don't see Debo as, like, this bona fide wide receiver, like a wideout. But I think he's a pretty decent route runner.
Yeah,
he got locked on a post, or it was either an in route or a post. Like, he cut in, and he got locked by McDuffie. So, I mean, these corners, man, they could play, especially McDuffie, could play man-to-man, and he came on that blitz, too. So he could do it all. Blitz, man, tackle, he could do it all.
So how about this? What if the Baltimore Ravens were in the Super Bowl against the 49ers? Do you think it would have went the same way?
Well, define same way, like close to the end, or?
Close to the end, but do you think their defense would have been locking them up?
The Ravens defense locking the Niners defense up? That's tough because they kind of did last time. Remember they played in the regular season? They kind of did last time. But I feel like Shanahan, after seeing them one time, probably would have put up some points. He probably would have adjusted a little bit. Even though I've been saying he lacks adjustments. But when I say that, I mean he lacks adjustments in his current game plan. Like, he doesn't adjust at halftime. I don't mean his game plans themselves. Like, he'll switch on a week-to-week thing. But, yeah, I don't know. That's tough. I do think the Ravens offense would dominating against the Niners defense again, but I think the Niners offense would have played better. So that's a good question, though. But that didn't happen because Lamar choked. Lamar choked. But I do think the Chiefs are getting slightly disrespected because they just beat the Niners, and Mahomes, like, after you just saw him win 2 years in a row without a number one receiver, can you really doubt him again? They should be the favorites until proven otherwise. Really?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's going to be quite a few free agency wide receivers out there.
So let's name them. We got Mike Evans. I think I'm forgetting a big one. Devontae Adams, of course. Mike Evans, Devontae Adams.
There's another
T. Higgins.
Those
out of those three, who's the best fit, and who do you think goes there?
I don't know. I think I like T. Higgins over there.
He's young. He's the youngest out of the three
for sure. And it's just weird because the only good target that we've seen Mahomes have is Travis Kelce. I don't know. It might be lights out with T. Higgins there.
Okay, so who do you think has the most realistic chance to go there, though?
Mike Evans. I feel like he's gonna,
because he's older.
He'll take the less amount, and they're looking to spend as little as possible.
That's true. That's what they've been doing.
The other guys.
That's what they've been doing since they've traded Tyreek Hill. They've kind of been on a rookie contract kind of thing. But okay, so
those other guys, they're definitely going somewhere big,
right? So I think as far as best fit for this team, Devontae Adams, 100%. He's one of the best route runners in the league. I think if he gets another quarterback like Rodgers, he's going to be one of the best receivers in the league again. That would be a match made in heaven. I mean, if you get Devontae Adams, now you have one of the top offenses in the league again. And surprisingly, I think they were still top 10 in points this season, or yards. But they were pretty even though this was a down season for the Chiefs, they were still up there in total offense. So add Devontae Adams, they would be completely elite. Most realistic chance, I agree, Mike Evans, because he's older, so he's probably going to have to take less money than T. Higgins and Devontae Adams, even though he had a better year than both those guys, Mike Evans. So maybe he doesn't.
I mean, I'm sure he wants the ring. I'm sure he definitely wants another ring.
He did win one with Brady, so maybe he's not as hungry for one. But yes, I agree. But I also think he'd be hungry to have a big year with a big-time quarterback again, because I think he might miss the Tom Brady effect.
Exactly,
But Baker put up some numbers with him. I wonder if he would go back. But side note, it's kind of crazy, Dylan, how the Super Bowl has kind of grown to probably the most popular event in American history when it comes to television. It's a chance. These are two big brands, Kansas City Chiefs, San Francisco 49ers. They played in 2019. Well, it was 2020, but the 2019 season, I'm pretty sure it was. Now they play this season in this Super Bowl. Is it possible that these two teams go back next year, rematch? Because these are two top teams.
It's crazy because the Chiefs definitely can, just based on their division. Their division is very weak, especially with the whole Russell Wilson thing going on.
Well, let's not forget the Chargers. They got Jim Harbaugh, but they were terrible last season. So how much can they really improve?
They're going to need at least 1 year before they make any sort of run. But who knows?
That's reasonable. No, that's reasonable to say.
The 49ers, though.
Do you think this is it for them?
I don't know.
Remember, their quarterback is on a rookie contract, so they can pay some players. So I don't know, but These players are getting older, though.
Yeah, and one quick thing. We were talking about comeback player of the year. We were talking about DeMar Hamlin. We were talking about
Flacco. Baker.
Baker. There's one other name I want to throw out there. What about Brock Purdy? Because he did get hurt at the end of the season. So
Brock Purdy, but he didn't miss any time.
I mean, he went out with the injury,
I guess the impact of it, but I mean, I usually someone that either is out for the season or something or has a bad year and comes back.
I mean, he got hurt, So he's coming back.
I don't know about that one, man.
I don't know. Well,
I guess
is there a rule, regulations on comeback player?
No.
Exactly. So.
Oh, that's true. You threw a curveball at me.
I
wasn't
thought
expecting
about
that.
it one day. I'm like, hey, maybe he should get it.
I wasn't expecting that from you. I was like, what is this guy talking about? You outdid yourself, Dylan. Last topic, though, before we move on. Well, before we end the show, because it's pretty much over. But last topic, can the Chiefs three-peat? There's never been a team that's three-peated. Can the Chiefs three-peat?
Absolutely. I mean, like I said before, their division's pretty weak.
You're going to have some quarterbacks back in this conference.
They did just fine with the receivers that they have. Rice is coming on as a number one receiver. You pair somebody else up with him, they could definitely make a run for it. I don't know what they're doing with Chris Jones yet, but I don't know. That's tough. And you know what this game really, the whole playoff run, they clutch up when the time matters, and that's the difference between this team and any other team. I mean, if there's one player that I want to give the ball to, and we're down by more than a touchdown, it's going to be Mahomes all the time.
Well, yeah, he's got, what was he? He have 3 comeback wins in the Super Bowl?
Yeah,
and Tom Brady has 2, and the rest of the NFL history is like 2.
Double-digit lead.
Yeah. He's the best ever when it comes to double-digit leads. But, there's one big factor here. There's a lot of quarterbacks that were hurt in the AFC this season, so it's going to be tough to get back. Like, for instance, Joe Burrow's kind of had his number in the playoffs.
But he's going to be without T. Higgins. They were very slow.
That's true.
Coming into the season.
They're always slow. Yeah. Burrow, when he's I think Burrow, when he's healthy, can challenge Mahomes. And now Herbert's got a head coach. It's hard to make it to the Super Bowl. The Bills, Josh Allen's never been there. It's hard to make it. Lamar can't get there. It's hard. Okay, so the repeat is going to be tough, but they're going to look. If anyone's got a shot, it's Mahomes. So
yeah, that conference has the 3 best quarterbacks.
Yeah,
sure.
It does. Mahomes, Allen, and Lamar.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. Oh, Burrow.
And then you got Josh
4.
Allen.
They have the 4 best. Yeah,
maybe 5.
Who would be the 5th? Herbert, I guess. Who would be above him? And the others?
No. Lamar, Mahomes,
Allen,
Burrow.
Probably Herbert, right? Like who else?
Yeah,
Stroud. Yeah. Look, Stroud's making the case, but I can't put him that high yet. But okay.
Yeah, no, you're right though. The AFC conference is just
it's stacked. It's quarterback centric, and the NFC starting to catch up with Jordan Love. Dak's okay. I mean,
a lot of younger guys, still developing.
It's getting up there, but that's it. I mean, Super Bowl happened. We got through one season with this podcast.
Let's go. One season down.
Congrats, man.
Season.
It was tough. It wasn't tough. Just it's a lot of work to do a podcast. We put a lot of time into this. We really appreciate the support throughout the season. We really grew from the week 1 to week 18 and then the playoffs.
Yeah, sometimes I look back at our first video and I start to cringe. I'm like, oh my god. So it's a work in progress.
The quality of it was so bad.
Yes.
You just tweak 1-2 things every week. You always have to try to improve when you're doing something. One advice I can give to anyone is never get stuck in your own ways, because there's always a way to do something better. You always got to switch things up, and see what sticks, what doesn't. And that's what we've kind of done here. We've had success with it. So we might take a week off next week, so we will see you in 2 weeks. We'll get into some free agency topics. So free agency is coming up in March. We're going to start to talk about the draft a little bit, some of these quarterbacks. Maybe we'll rank the top 5 prospects in our opinion. Like, I'll list my top 5, you list yours.
Yeah.
We'll have to analyze some of these quarterbacks, some of the needs for some of these teams. So thanks again, guys. Really appreciate it. Keep supporting us. Thanks, Dylan, for the season. See you in a few weeks.